It occurs to me, Mr. Chairman, if I put a coin on my desk face up and heads down, I'll know whether I'm muted or unmuted.
Perfect. If there's anybody that'd like to do public comment for the committee of the whole administrative meeting, please fill out a form and bring it up here. We're good to go? All right. I'd like to call the order the Thursday, December 5th meeting, committee of the whole for administration. Start with, I'll call that meeting to order at 6:29 p.m. Start with Paul Carl Johnson here, Ryan Curry, Brian Schneider. Here. Dave Wiltsey.
Here.
Ray Larson.
Here.
Josh Shoemaker.
Here.
Tom Wahlberg.
Here.
Elisa Patterson.
Here.
Dana Logston.
Here.
Matt Regano.
Here.
Rodney Riley.
Here.
Marion Thornberry.
Here.
I'd like to, I don't think we have to do another motion to allow them to join electronically, do we? No. Let's do it anyway. Let's ask for a motion to allow Ms. Patterson and Mr. Wiltsey to join and participate electronically. Motion by Mr. Thornberry, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Have that lag time,
Yeah.
a little bit. It's hard to get used to.
No, I think he was saying he didn't want to participate.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riley, seconded by Mr. Regano. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. I see no public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. Monthly presentations. Before we get to the monthly never mind, I'll do that later. So go ahead. Public safety. Sheriff. It's your floor.
Well, moving forward tonight, I'm trying to keep track of everything. People, agendas. All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. First of all, I want to congratulate, obviously, Matt and Josh, for being elected to the board. I will reach out to you if you don't have it with my contacts. So feel free to get a hold of me at any time, discuss anything. Also, congratulations to those that we were re-elected to the board. Look forward to working with everybody for the next few years, couple years, two. Two at a time. I included all my budgets this time. I just recently today, just a few hours ago, got hot off the press where we will be with all of our budgets. I looked them over compared to what I sent Michelle a few days ago, and they're going to be very similar to what was sent to her and sent to you guys. So all of our budgets are posted there. So obviously at the end, if you have any questions on that, we can go over that. For our staffing, our current staffing, our patrol division, we currently have 4 unfilled positions and 2 are out on medical. Corrections, we have 3 unfilled positions. 2 are currently on light duty. In dispatch, we have 1 unfilled position, 1 currently in the FTO program, and 1 out on medical. I think going back up here with patrol, I know I mentioned it last time, but he officially wasn't retired till December 1st. Deputy Steve Talixon retired after 25 years with the Sheriff's Department. Speaking of staffing, I believe it's January 3rd, if that's a Friday. Knock on wood, we will be swearing in 4 deputies. That will put us up to full staff for our patrol division. We'll be swearing in 2 correctional officers, which will put us just one short in corrections. And we will be hiring our new dispatcher. She'll start early January. So if everything holds, we will be as close as we can to full staff at the beginning of the year, which will be good for obviously our budget. So couple of maintenance updates. The grinder, which that is with our corrections, that's an issue that's come up. We are as close as we can get to finally installing the grinder for corrections. We need Ceronis to come in either late next week, early the following week, the 16th, I believe it is, to finish up what they have to do. Then the company will come in and finish installing the grinder. So hopefully when I present in January, that grinder will be installed. Next week, we will have the boiler replaced at the PSB. This will give the PSB Public Safety Building, which we all know who works in there. We will have no heat in that building next week. So wish me luck dealing with everybody up there. Obviously, this is a big project for Cerrone. This is a 52-year-old boiler that we will be taking out of there. It's actually going to take a flatbed tow truck to get this unit out of the building. We came up with a solution that we're just going to get that to the side because our plans were Monday morning to get that out, but that's going to take up almost a full day to get that unit out of the building. So we're just going to move that and get the new boilers, the new system installed. And then when we got heat back into the building, then we will come back and get that boiler out. So pray for me and pray for, so it just has to be done. We have to get it done as soon as possible, just based on no guarantee with this boiler. And if something breaks down in the middle of January when it's extremely cold, if we have to come up putting a large amount of money into it to keep it going, we'd have to do that. So the stairs, obviously that's been a 2-3 year project. The stairs going to the lower parking lot, those are finally finished along with the railing. So that's a huge lift off of all of us up here, because that's, like I said, been a 2-3 year project in the making. Area Services is coming in to lay down some dirt and get that landscape. Obviously, they'll do that this winter, fall, whatever it is still, and it should be good to go by spring. So that's a huge project. McKinley, we've had some light poles, which parking lot and the entry to where we put our entry into the back parking lot there for all of our patrol deputies. The light poles are up. The electrician has been contacted, so hopefully we get those up and running as soon as possible. If you have not heard, Belvedere Fire Station 1 has been shut down to park their fire trucks inside the fire station. So part-time fire station. We are housing 2 of their fire units as well as 3 of their firemen. So they are staying there until, I think it went to city council last Monday. I haven't heard, but hopefully they get that repaired. An engineer shut down their building to park those vehicles. We joke around that I guess the vehicles nowadays are a little bit heavier than they were 125 years ago. So the engineers shut down that building. There's no parking fire trucks on that at this point. So Chief Shadle's been great to work with. Obviously, all those that know him, you can't meet a better individual. So he's been great to work with, and they've been great. I'm glad we could do this for them. Obviously, the one vehicle or both of them have to be parked inside this time of the year and plugged in. So they didn't have too many options this side of the tracks because they had to be on this side of the tracks. So we worked things out with Chief Shadle and his crew. So I'm glad we could do that for him. Calls for service, almost the same. 2023 November was 2,150 calls, and 2024 November, we were slightly down 2,100 calls. So there's your calls for services for the month of November. Obviously, we're getting to the time where we'll get our annual report out. We'll get all those numbers finalized. So With that, I guess I want to wish on behalf of myself and the entire Sheriff's Department, wish everybody here a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And with that, I guess,
Any questions for the sheriff? Mr. Loxton?
We're going to talk about your vehicle that you,
I'm sorry, what?
is there a vehicle on here that you're looking at purchasing?
That is an EMA vehicle. That's for emergency management, that's for Zachard. I did see that. He did tell me that that was going up there. And until I looked at the agenda today, yeah, so obviously we tried to put that in capital. When I presented my capital budget, it was taken out of capital. Zachard communicates very well with me. He was in communication with me and Becky and Aaron and Rod at the time, about presenting this. And I said, yeah, it can't hurt to present it. And then obviously this is left up to you. So I'll go back to how I presented it. I presented this in capital as a need for our emergency management, and then it was taken out. So that's about where I can leave it. So.
Any other questions? Mr. Wiltse or Ms. Patterson, anything?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you much. Have a good night.
Next up, Highway Department. Crone.
Hi, Justin Crone with the Boone County Highway Department, County Engineer. Just for those two new board members, just wanted to briefly describe the Highway Department. We've got 100 centerline miles of roadway at the Highway Department, 5 full-time plow drivers, a couple seasonal guys. So we're fairly small. We rely on the townships to do a lot of our activities. And again, my phone, like the sheriff, I'm available whenever needed. If anybody's got any questions, comments, quite often, a lot of our solutions come from, I can think of 3 right off the top of my head before I came up here with 3 solutions or 3 issues that came from board members that we addressed that worked out well. So with that, I do have a brief monthly presentation on board docs. I just wanted to touch on a couple of the items. The first one is the large grant. That's about a $9 million ask from R1 that we're going to be that we have already submitted for that will be discussed, ranked, and voted on in the next couple of months. So I think we're in a good position to potentially get some of that funding back to Boone County. So look forward to seeing that outcome. We're back up to full staff as well. That was my second item. Last item, I would like to discuss this and kind of get a direction from the board. I had a meeting today. I had a meeting last month with IDOT, had a meeting today with the local agencies, the Belvedere Park District, City of Belvedere, Belvedere Township, the Boone County Conservation District, and the Boone County Highway Department. We all met, discussed IDOT's proposed project, which would be to turn the E-By into 4-lane through all the way from, Bullitt Road, wrapping around to US 20 over by Walmart. So, that's a big project for IDOT. They have it funded. They're in the design process right now. Another similar situation where they're now looking at bike path and sidewalks and other pedestrian features as part of this project. And IDOT quite often is forced to do some pedestrian features with projects through state legislation. They have to build something, whether it's a wider shoulder or a separated path. That a lot of that is developed as the project is under the design process. So we're in that process right now of developing what that additional pedestrian facility is going to be. Right now, they are proposing a separated path. IDOT would build that path, and then if this is decided upon, the IDOT would build it. They would fully fund the construction of that path, and then they'd want the locals to take it over. So that's what the basis of the meeting was today, is all the various agencies that might have the capacity or interest in taking that over met today, and we came up with a variety of different items or a variety of different scenarios that might make that work. One of the scenarios, for example, the park district or conservation district can't fully function, fully operate a full path all the way through. It sounds like the city is going to take everything from Wycliffe, or basically the near the tracks south. So that's all kind of the urbanized city areas. And so they would take that responsibility and take those over 100%, and that would be part of their system and their maintenance program. So everything from the tracks wrapping around back to Beloit Road is in question. Who would maintain it? Is that what we want? Maybe do we want to back off and not have a path there? Do we just want to have wider shoulders? They are going to have shoulders in the plan as well, so that's great for farm implements. Based on our discussion, so if you recall that area, there's a segment in there, a couple thousand feet in there that's Park District on the south side between Bonus and it'd be just west of Bonus. And then there's also that north-south segment that the Conservation District land has that we recently built a path on the east side of the bypass. So those are all tied in to this project as well. And so those agencies are all going to go back to their respective boards and discuss this project with them. Kind of the preliminary ideas that were discussed was that we divided it up into 3 equal parts. We were going to approach the Rock River or the RBC, the community college center there with the old Shopko, because a portion of it is right outside of their facility. So we're going to discuss, we've actually already reached out to them to see if they're interested in taking a third. Park District's going to look at taking a third, and the Conservation District would be interested in taking a third. Each one of those thirds is about 2,500 feet. City would take, I think theirs was about 5,300 feet. So theirs was about twice that amount. When I say a third, that's the third outside of the city. So I guess I'm not trying to confuse things or get too much into the weeds on this, but essentially they're willing to take that over. The one thing they're not good at is capital improvements. We are good at that, the highway department. We're not good at, picking up somebody's dog poop or answering a call about somebody off a leash or something like that. Park districts and conservation district deals with that a little bit more. So the thing that we came up with is that perhaps we would share in the responsibility for the capital improvements that are needed over the course of that path, and they would essentially operate and maintain the path. And then every 30 years when it needs to get resurfaced, then we would step in and participate in that. That participation could be 0, could be 50%, could be 100%. We're throwing out ideas. I think my suggestion and the discussion that we had with them is perhaps maybe, we could do all the design in-house and share the cost 50% every time that it needs to get a resurface, which something like this might be 30, 50 years, somewhere in there, because you're not, this path would not be plowed in the wintertime. There would be no salt on it. We did talk to IDOT. IDOT's willing to put concrete on there at their expense. So, so it's going to be, it would be a pretty decent project. So, so I guess that's kind of the conclusion of my report. That's the main item in my report for tonight, is just to kind of get a sense on, this discussion with IDOT. We're going to go back to IDOT probably in February after everyone's had a chance to talk to their boards, and then everyone's kind of doing some getting some initial feels from their boards to see if they're willing to participate. And then we're going to meet again. And so that's what I'm up here today doing with the county board, is to see if, we wouldn't take jurisdiction of any of the pathways, but we would participate, within, our capabilities of reconstruction or maintenance. And that would be, happen every 30 to 50 years. And so in the cost of that, I did some real rough numbers. So each one of those segments, and this is not part of the city urbanized area. The city urbanized area actually will have a path on one side and a sidewalk on the other. And the city is taking that responsibility. This would be the segments that are not part of that city urbanized area, which is kind of the north Ebi section over to the river or the railroad track area. And again, those are broken up into three segments, 2,500 feet apiece. And just a real rough estimate in today's dollars to do an overlay every 30 years would be somewhere between $30,000 to $35,000 per year. Three segments. So if you take that times three, that's $100,000. If we split that 50-50, that's $50,000 and we would the design and all the procurement and any of that, or perhaps even in-house. I asked IDOT and they said we could resurface it in-house. And that's something that we've got 2 townships that have pavers now. So that's certainly we could do at a pretty low cost. And so that $50,000 could get down to a 50% at 50,000. That 50%, if we did it in-house, could be down to like 25,000 or even less. So, I think that it's certainly something that is worth considering from this board, this body, that we do that participation and support together the Rock Valley College, the Park District, and the Conservation District. So I'm just kind of looking for kind of thumbs up, thumbs down if we want to continue these talks and kind of fine tune what we'd be looking at doing for an agreement.
Mr. Crone, when you and I were talking, you mentioned that path was going to connect to the path we just put in and then also up to the school. Was that correct?
That is correct. We are going to connect to those. We were actually going to use those so we wouldn't have a duplicate path. However, with Lincoln School being on the other side of the road, there's some considerations on whether we have crossings or not. So, but we would still tie into all those paths would all be tied in. This would really make a nice network. If somebody from the school wanted to walk to Walmart, they could walk without having to walk on a shoulder or in a roadway. They'd actually have a pathway, the whole distance or it makes a good alternative transportation method for pedestrians or bicyclists. So yeah, that is correct. The schools would be tied in. And I'm sorry, the other existing paths would be tied in. Yep.
Any questions from the board in the boardroom here? Mr. Thornberry?
I'm assuming that means that our Logan Avenue and bypass intersection that I talked about before is going to get repaired.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's after I saw these plans come out, I thought of you that you've brought that up many times, and that will get repaired under this project with IDOT. Yes, and that intersection will be then 4 lanes going north south. Yep, across Logan.
Further questions from the boardroom for Mr. Crone? Comments? About Mr. Wiltsey, anything?
No, I have no questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Patterson?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's an excellent idea to keep going and negotiating, and I think that's a great way we can participate without really having a large expenditure. So, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, the direction I'm going right now is probably a 50-50 cost share. And that's common in a lot of things that we do. And then we wouldn't have the daily, I don't want to take one of our guys off of a highway operation to field this, but I think between the park districts and the conservation district, they can field those type of answers, those daily operations.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, assessments. Ms. Milner.
Good evening. Jessica Milner, Supervisor of Assessments for Boone County. Just want to extend congratulations to the new board and an extended invitation to come by my office or call at any time if you have any questions or you want to discuss the work that we do with valuations in the county or exemptions or So my report that I submitted to the board is the report that I generate annually to fulfill the statutory requirement for conducting an annual meeting with the township assessors to instruct them on their responsibilities and duties for the coming year. So these are the areas that I believed we should focus on for 2025 in Boone County with the township assessors. You are all, of course, invited to come to that meeting. It's next Thursday at 9 a.m. in my office. Also, there was a hearing conducted in Springfield on November 26th, where they confirmed our tentative factor of 1, which is good because that means our work for the year will go through the Department of Revenue without adjustment. So there would be no further changes to the assessments that everyone received. So with that, I would answer any questions.
Questions? Any questions online?
I'm good.
No questions for me. Thank you, Jessica.
Okay. Mr. Larson?
Just quick, Jessica, you mentioned the, exemptions. When somebody buys a new house, is there any way that you could automate whether they get an exemption? Otherwise, you have to just apply for them.
Yeah, we do a little bit of the automation process. We kind of automated our home improvement exemptions. When the township assessors in Boone County find new property, they process that exemption application without involvement of the property owner. They just give it to them without them signing documents or stopping by the office or filling out paperwork. I would love to bypass some of that because it is sad when we have people come in. Usually those processes happen during the closings when somebody purchases a home. That buried in the 600 papers you sign, usually in a typical real estate closing, is our exemption paperwork is usually buried in that stack. But sometimes it's not. And we have people come to the office, a couple times a year where they say, well, I've lived here for 5 years. How come I've never received any of these exemptions, or am I not entitled? And I do have the ability to go back statutorily and correct a current year as long as it's before the treasurer takes judgment. So usually I can, up till about the end of October is usually when Kurt takes judgment on the tax roll for that current year. So up until that point, I can go back to that year and correct it. But after that, there's no legal recourse to do anything for them.
Yeah.
And it's sad. We do a lot of outreach. I took out some advertisements in the newspaper encouraging people to come and talk to me about their assessment. Everybody who owns anything, you own real estate, you should stop by the office. You should come and you should talk about it. You should ask questions because we find things out. We find houses where the square footage isn't correct. We find houses where we find all kinds of errors that result in people not paying their correct amount of property taxes. And some of those things I won't find them if people don't come. So we literally beg people to come to our office and talk to us and ask questions about their property tax assessment. So tell everybody do that. Come to the office, come check in, ask questions. It's important.
Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, I don't see Miss Wiggett here. She's not online, is she? No. Okay. Next up, Health Department, Miss Mel.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Amanda Mail with the Boone County Health Department. Just a warm welcome to the new board members and also congratulations to our board members who are in leadership positions as of Monday night, and looking forward to working with you all for the next couple of years. I am going to leave my business card on the table before I leave this evening. I think many of the current board members are aware of how to best get a hold of me, but if you're new or if you're unsure, reach me. I'm very reachable by email or cell phone or text message. I'm happy to answer questions offline or discuss anything related to our department and the work that we're doing. So I just want to point out that the health department operates with a board of health, and those 11 appointed members are appointed by this county board. We do meet monthly, and you'll see 10 reports because we do 10 full meetings and usually 2 finance meetings a year. We do call a special finance meeting if necessary, but normally you'll see 10 packets like this one. They're electronically uploaded in board docs for the administration meetings. I just report out once quarterly, but like I said, I'm available for questions at any point in the interim. I want to point out a few highlights of how the packet is structured, and then I'm happy to answer any questions if people have any. So the agenda encompasses our domain report, which discusses the 12 public health health domains and the different activities, services, programs, trainings, and methods that we're engaged in throughout the year. And it's broken up that way so that you can understand the different essential services that we're required to fulfill. I also want to point out that our health department, as of August of this year, became public health accredited. So we're the 12th and smallest health department in the state of Illinois to be accredited. And we get the question all the time, well, that's great, but what does that mean for the community? What does that mean for the county? So I did print out a one-page handout, which I think is helpful. It happens to be on page 12 of this packet. Aaron, you're right with me. Thank you. But I will pass around a copy of this. Gives you some information on how health departments who are FAB accredited have reported being able to better manage their budgets, having access to new funding opportunities, being a little more competitive when they're out there going for speaking opportunities, conferences, and additional scholarships and funding, and talks a little bit about preparedness and accountability and transparency. I think it's great for this community that we're holding ourselves to that national standard, and also that we're getting the best bang for the buck in terms of public taxpayer dollars, both at the local level, but also at the state and federal level. So this just gives you a snapshot. If you do have questions or concerns about it or want to understand it a little bit better, I'm happy to answer those questions. We recently had a plaque unveiling at Coach's Corner last month, which is pretty exciting. That plaque is in our department, and we'll be excited to have that hanging in our building once it's remodeled and renovated as well. So really proud of that. Staff are really proud of that. It was about a 7-year process to go through that intensive adjustment to make sure that we're meeting those national standards. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, and feel free to ask any questions about what's in the packet, but this is the time of year when many of us are looking forward to holiday celebrations with family and friends. I know I definitely am. My family does observe the Christmas holidays, so we very much look forward to that. But the health department in particular is acutely aware of many of our neighbors here in the community that are less fortunate than some of the rest of us. This is the time of year when it gets really cold, when bills start to get higher in terms of heating, and when children have a lot more needs, when food is hard to put on the table. So one of the things the health department does is works very hard to address health equity challenges or poverty and low income challenges here in our community. I did pull together something that I'll pass out as well. Some of the things that we're engaged in this month leading up to the holiday season is we're partnering with Boone County CASA. We have a donation box in our vestibule, and we're donating with Boone County CASA to the baby bank. So you all can pass that information along to members of the public, your constituents, people that you interact with at your workplaces or within your networks, to be able to come to the health department and drop items off there or at any of the locations listed here. I also have some information about some Northern Illinois Food Bank mobile food pantries that are coming up. That information is available in English and in Spanish. We do have, in Boone County, we have just under 5,000 people that are estimated to be food insecure, which in my opinion is 5,000 too many. We have 1,700 children, just 1,700 children too many. So those are folks that don't know where that next meal is coming from. They don't necessarily have food in the refrigerator to eat for their next meal. Some of the kids in our community eat regularly at school, and then when school is out for holiday break, they may not have a warm meal on their table, and those are the most important times of year for some families, and it can be a huge struggle. So if you could please help us to get this information out and make it available to members of the community so that we can lend a helping hand this time of year so that other people can share the joy of the holidays, that would be much appreciated. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions from the board? Mr. Loxton.
I just have one. I'm just looking at your, the PHAB document that you just sent us. And the very first one is accountability. I'm curious, 78% reported that accreditation improved the health department's accountability to external stakeholders. Who are the external stakeholders?
That's a great question. So it depends community to community, but I'll give you some local examples, which are pretty common across the nation, right? So we run several community-based groups. So the Boone County Behavioral Health Task Force, the Boone County Hunger Coalition, the Boone County Maternal Child Health Council, and the Boone County Drug Prevention Coalition. So those would be some examples of meetings that are organized by the health department where different stakeholders from different sectors of the community come together to work on bigger issues like how do we deal with the opioid crisis? How do we deal with food insecurity for the 5,000 people in our community that don't know where the next meal is coming from? How do we address issues with maternal mortality or children on the WIC program with Maternal Child Health Council, for example? How do we get them transportation where they need to go if there's not a car in the household, et cetera? So partners around those tables are going to be faith-based organizations, other governmental organizations. In the case of our behavioral health programming, we do a lot of work with the justice system here in Boone County. So state's attorney, probation, the court system, the jail, the sheriff, police department, our fire departments, our first responders, those types of folks, lots of social service agencies. We're involved with a CASA, with YMCA Park District, a lot of the Parks and Rec for a lot of our activities where we're promoting people being active and living healthier lifestyles. And then the other, main sector that I would mention is going to be healthcare. So we don't provide a lot of direct healthcare services in the same way that a primary care provider would, or, a nurse practitioner, OBGYN, et cetera. That's going to be your clinics, your hospital systems, your outpatient facilities, your dialysis centers, et cetera. But we partner very closely with them. So they're going to come to a lot of those meetings and make sure that we're sharing data and understanding, like, is kidney disease on the rise in Boone County and why might we think that is? Are we seeing certain cancers in certain areas? Are we dealing with, immunization rates amongst kiddos for polio that are lower, in Poplar Grove than Belvedere? So those would be some examples of stakeholder engagement, and we need to be held transparent to those organizations. So if we're putting data together and we're sharing data, we need to put that information out and say, hey, here are the facts, here's what we're seeing, and make sure that we're being held accountable along with those systems to presenting that information to the public.
Mr. Thornberry.
I attended the chamber event at the museum the other day where you guys put on the presentation for Coalition. I was very impressed with the young lady that put on the major portion of that. I talked to Helen when I was there, and I told her and the young lady that they were very impressive, and it came a long way from when I was on it in 2014. And I thought they were doing a very good job.
Yeah, that group has really expanded. Alyssa Rothmeiler is the director. She's actually funded by a federal CDC SAMHSA grant. It's a 5-year grant for drug safe communities. We work a lot in the schools with law enforcement, with confiscating vapes and other drug paraphernalia, providing education to youth, trying to prevent and curb the spread of those addictive behaviors that start as early as 10, 11, 12 years old. And then we deal with the opioid crisis that we have with adults at the moment that we're still battling. That's been going on now for almost 20 years. It's hard to believe that it's been almost 2 decades.
Any other questions from the boardroom? Any questions online?
Nope, I'm good.
No questions. Thank you very much, Amanda.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, I'll leave my card there. Please feel free to reach out if anybody has questions or concerns. I am available to discuss anything.
Next up, Animal Services. I see Mr. Bort is online.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
We got you.
Great. I'm using a new device, so I hadn't used it in this way before. So good evening. Welcome to the new board members. Congratulations, and welcome back to those of you who are re-elected recently. For the new board members, if you haven't been to the shelter before for one reason or another, I'd welcome you to give us a call and set up a time that you can come out and we can show you around the shelter and show you what we do day to day, serving animal welfare needs here in our county. I wouldn't necessarily say fourth quarter was slow. We had a lot of holdover animals quite a few long-term residents. Adoptions were slow. We were only able to adopt out 5 dogs in the fourth quarter. Currently, we have 8 of them that are available, as well as 2 cats that are available for adoption. If anybody's looking for a pet, please let us know. We are hoping to finalize one in the next couple of days, so we're thankful for that. But there's been a lot of time, even as late as the last couple of weeks, where we were down to no spaces or only 1 or 2 spaces. And even just having a couple of spaces available can be really limiting. There's frequently or semi-frequently cases where we'll have to go out and pick up 2, 3, sometimes even more than that, animals on one call. And so those spaces can disappear really quick. So that's been kind of a challenge for us recently. My officers and I did 170 calls for service in the fourth quarter. We impounded 44 dogs. Fortunately, we were able to return 23 of them to their owners, and sent 12 of them to rescue organizations. We've relied on the rescue organizations pretty heavily over the last few months, in being able to move animals out of the shelter when they don't make great adoption candidates. But they're still viable household pets, but they just need extra time to be socialized and things like that. So we're thankful to all of our rescue and foster organization partners, many of them who've taken on several animals over the course of time. And when we call on them, they continue to help us out as needed in helping save lives of these animals. We took in 72,000 in Fund 12 in the fourth quarter. Our non-personnel expenditures were 9,400. Our personnel expenditures were 51,274. We took in 14,650 into the building maintenance fund in the fourth quarter, 3,300 in the spay neuter fund, and 6,800 in the donation/veterinary fund. I don't really have anything else at this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions? Mr. Riley?
Mr. Chairman.
All right, I go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Riley.
Hey, Rick, following the case, the animal abuse case, from the dog park thing, over in McHenry County and the charges that they have. How's things? I assume things are moving through the court, on our issues over here. I know we can't talk about what's going on in court, but I assume they're moving through the process.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the court case is playing out at this time. Certainly in the future, I'll be able to address what's happening at board meetings in the future. I'm not able to do that right now.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Mr. Wiltse, you had something.
Yes, look on page 5 of, I'm sorry, page 2 of 5. There's this huge spike on personal expenditures, if I'm reading this right. What was going on there?
Yes, there is a sort of like a little caveat down there, and it has to do with the fact that there were 3 pay periods in that month. So it looks quite a bit higher than normal. And that's the reason why. It's because of the extra pay period there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Logston.
Hey, Rick, Dana Lawson. Do you have any dogs right now in your possession that might be okay with cats? Asking for a friend, me.
We don't normally put cats and dogs together. If a person had a cat and they were interested in adopting a dog, we would certainly welcome that during a potential meet and greet. But normally we don't do that with all of the animals, just on a case-by-case basis. So if you and your family were interested, we can certainly talk about it.
All right, I'll call you.
Okay.
Mr. Loxton, don't just stop with one. There's several there.
4 cats,
Okay.
Yeah.
4 dogs. That would be perfect.
1 per, right?
Mr. Larson?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Barrett, I believe, aren't they listed on the pet finder? Any animals you have available also?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we do have a presence on the Pet Finder website. So if anybody's not familiar with that, it's a private website. Run,
Yeah. And so
each shelter doesn't have their own webpage on it necessarily, their own section, but you can post animals on there. So our animals appear on there, but there are other shelters in the area who have animals on there, and in a search they'll appear right next to each other. So it's kind of a quirk of their system, but if a person's interested in a certain type of animal, you can put in what you're looking for, like breed, size of the animal, things like that, and then the geographic area that you're willing to travel to, and then the system will contact you if anything becomes available. And then we also post all of our available animals on our Facebook page, which is Boone County IL Animal Services.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, just thought I'd let Mr. Lawson know. I believe they put them on Pet Finder and also, Facebook. I don't use the Facebook.
Perfect.
So anybody asking me, you can try to direct them that way,
There we go.
We appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Anything else for animal services? All right, Rick, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You as well.
All right. There's also some written reports in there. You can peruse those at your leisure. Next up, I would ask for a motion to approve the claims in the amount of $653,440.91, with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, Northern Illinois Service, Corn, Maine, all claims submitted by the Boone County Highway Department, and all claims submitted by any county department regarding sewage, stormwater, construction, and excavation.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Larson. Is there a second by Mr. Schneider? Any discussion? We do need a roll call. In that case, we'll do a roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Tom Wahlberg,
I,
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Aye.
Matt Regano,
Aye.
Rodney Riley,
Aye.
Marion Thornberry.
yes,
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, raffles. We don't have a motion to approve these, but we do have in our ordinance, if somebody has a Class D raffle, they have to appear before us so that we can throw tomatoes at them or something. I'm not sure why, but so they have to come and tell us a little bit about them, I guess. So if you would, please state your name and address for the record, and then tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Dave Tinberg, my home address,
Yes, please.
555 East Ogden, Capron.
Okay.
And I'm on Capron Fire Department, been there for 28 years. I'm a captain.
Okay. And you're doing a raffle?
Yeah, we do a meat raffle. It's a fundraiser
Okay.
for our association. And we use that money for fire prevention stuff. We just Tuesday bought 500 feet of large diameter hose for the district
Mhm.
to put on our new engine.
I'm sure that's inexpensive.
Yeah, it's a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So we use it for that. We do a scholarship for kids up at North Boone that are going to go into first responders or nursing or something to do with EMS and fire or whatever.
Perfect. Any questions from the board? Any questions online?
Nope.
No questions.
All right. Thank you very much.
Maybe, Mr.
All right.
Chairman, we should move, in the future, we should move raffles like this forward so that folks could get in and out.
Nope, I don't disagree. We'll take a look at that. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.
Good luck with the raffle.
Thank you.
Next up, I'd accept a motion to approve SUP 21-2024 9014 Hunter Road. By Mr. Wahlberg, seconded by Mr. Riley. Staff report.
Aaron's not here to help. No, turn that on. Sorry.
If you hit it on the table hard, it might come on.
I'm not really sure either.
Don't see.
Well, I have a loud voice. So.
Power.
Hold on a sec.
Again, I don't get it.
Give it to the technical guy. Or maybe the batteries are dead.
I can grab the other.
It works. Mr. Loxton got it fixed.
All right. Thank you. Yes, this special use application is special use 21-24 for a special use at 9014 Hunter Road for a small rural business in an unincorporated Leroy Township. The property has a proposed site as a retreat space located in the north and the west portions of the property, which is approximately 9 acres in size. The applicant and her family live on the property in their home, and they're looking to host guests ranging from 12 to 20 persons to attend outdoor meeting and group activities on the property. The applicant maintains a path as well as a forested area on the parcel, along with various amenities for gathering within the natural space. And they are looking to host retreats on an hourly basis, ranging from 3 to 8 hours per experience. The retreats are being looked to operate seasonally on an average of 2 to 3 times a week, April to December, with the group focused experiences said to foster a personal relationship with nature and intended to educate attendees on native plantings, the benefits of the environment, as well as fellowship and connection. The site plan, it's hard to see, hopefully better on your devices. Is indicated parking area for the attendees invited for the sessions, as well as the gravel parking and grass area for overflow parking. A handicap space has been identified along with the ingress and egress to the property. The site plan indicates the location of the subject meeting space, where the applicant has agreed to provide a porta potty service for the patrons, as indicated on the site plan as well. The actions at the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Zoning Board of Appeals voted on the findings of facts and motion to pass the vote 5-0 to adopt the findings as written. ZBA voted to recommend the approval of the special use permit subject to the 7 conditions as recommended by staff. Staff gave the staff advisory report, as well as request was sent to agencies for comment. The building department indicated that any structures intended for use by the public will be subject to commercial building codes. The Boone County Health Department included indications on the applicant's requirements for providing the location of the existing well and septic on the site plan, ensuring that parking does not impact those systems. They noted the signed contract from the Illinois Licensed Portable Sanitation Company should be submitted for review to ensure hand washing facilities provided along the property constructed with clean porta potties. Additionally, the health department noted that any food or beverage provided would possibly require additional permits and review by the Boone County Health Department. No comment was made by the Boone County Highway Department, and the Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District has determined no soil analysis is needed. At the public hearing, the presentation, in addition to staff's presentation, the applicant, Michelle Morello, was in attendance and gave a presentation. The applicant is in attendance here as well and willing to provide any information or give a presentation as needed. Let's see, the last bit here. Public testimony, there was testimony in favor of the applicant and the application given by Roxanne Grenland. She testified that work had been done on the property through the site, and was in support of this application. A nearby property owner, Veronica Bison. How do you? Myson with an M, yes. Mysick. Gave testimony in favor of the application, as well as Dave Marlett testified the applicant and the application in favor of. Summary of a finding for, and Chairman Hale asked for the motion to accept the findings, and motion carried 5-0 roll call vote. And then the motion was made to approve the special 7 conditions, which was also roll call vote 5-0. The zoning board of appeals found that the requirements as well as the staff recommended of approval. And I can go ahead and read the 7 conditions, or it's up to you all.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and read them?
Okay.
Record would be great.
Number 1, signage in regards to the business must comply with the Boone County zoning ordinance. 2, business shall operate in sustainable conformance with the applicant's descriptions of activities, site plan, and average number of 2 to 3 times a week for the season, April through December. 3, subject to the letter dated November 7th, 2024 from the Boone County Health Department. All health department applicable recommendations, codes, and ordinances shall apply. 4, compliance with the Boone County building letter regarding public use of structures and commercial building code compliance. 5, compliance with all state required licenses. 6, compliance with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations. And finally, 7, the small rural business shall remain subordinate in operation to the primary single-family use.
Any questions of staff by the board? Let's hear Ms. Patterson. Any questions for staff at this moment?
No questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Wiltsey.
As usual, I focus on the conditions and on the application, section 7. And I see a detailed explanation in section 7 of the application. Seasonal business hosting nature-focused retreats. The retreats will include but are not limited to forest bathing or forest therapy walks, grounding practice, nature and artistic creations, and other group events centered around the healing and restorative powers of nature. Could I have a little bit better explanation of what forest bathing and forest therapy walks are and grounding practices?
I think we will get that here in just a moment as I went to the applicant to give us some information. Super. Would the applicant like to address us?
Yes, thank you.
If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Michelle Marilla. Address is 9014 Hunter Road in Cape Breton.
Hold on just a moment. Mr. Wiltsey, can you guys hear that okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So I'll address that question. Thank you for asking. That is a wonderful question. Has anybody heard of forest bathing? Forest therapy?
No.
Well, Carl, you don't necessarily count, and Tom, you were at the meeting, so thank you for listening. Forest bathing is a practice that is based on the Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, and that was developed in the 1980s by the government in Japan, realizing that their communities were facing serious health crises, going into long tech jobs, sitting in front of computers for these long hours, and they were seeing a lot of health concerns coming from that. So they created this practice of Shinrin-yoku. And it is a very slow meditative walk through the forest where you connect with nature, and you don't necessarily meditate to clear your mind, but you open yourself to the healing properties of what nature has for you. Forest therapy came to the United States in the 1990s through the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy. And they are an organization that brought it as an individual practice where you would go into the forest by yourself. And you can take your shoes off. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could take other articles off too, but we don't do that in a group. We go into the forest together. We are sent out on an invitation, such as connect to something in the forest that you noticed is in motion. And then we would all go out and spend some time looking for those items in motion. And then we come back together as a group and we can share or not share what came to us during that time. Walks are typically about 2 hours. And at the end, people can share and have fellowship time together, or they can leave, or they'll be allowed to spend time on our property and journal or read or meditate or do other things that they would like to do. Some of the other practices I noted in the presentation were grounding. A grounding practice is physically putting your body in connection with the earth. So taking your shoes off is very healthy when you go for a walk, especially in a place that the trails are groomed and I know they're clean. I walk them all the time, so I do know they're clean. And that is really healthy for our body. Putting ourselves in connection with the electromagnetic current of the earth helps to reduce inflammation, lower cortisol levels, drop our blood sugar. I mean, there's many health benefits to that and a lot of research going into that currently. Another purpose of the retreats will be for people to develop a relationship with nature and start to understand what we can do to help heal our world and heal our earth. And I don't want to be all sappy about it, but I think there's a lot of things that can be healed, not only in our environment, but in our relationships with each other and the world in general, by taking some time to slow down and be in connection with it. It's where we started, in my opinion, and it's where we're meant to be.
Mr. Wiltsey, did that answer some of your questions, or do you have some other questions?
Yeah. What is the item in motion or whatever that was? That description. What does that mean?
Also, for example, I would say, a lot of times in the fall, it is a time of year when things seem to be letting go and the trees are starting to begin their process of hibernation. And I would invite people to wander out into the forest and notice something that's in the process of letting go. And whatever spoke to you during that 10 minutes, you would focus on. So for me, I noticed that there was a tree that had a vine wrapped tightly around it. That was a poison ivy vine. And that tree could not let go of that vine. And if that tree couldn't let go of that vine, a lot of times those poison ivy vines end up killing your tree. And so it was a noticing for me that brought something I was trying to let go of. And I shared that in the group when we came back and talked to each other. So it sometimes happens like that. And sometimes somebody says, I notice all the trees have lost their leaves. And that's perfect too. And sometimes people don't. But it's designed to help us look internal, be in community with other people at the same time, and just slow down a little bit. And I would love for you to come on a walk.
Okay, and I like nature. So the other thing was that I think you said something about the electromagnetic properties of
the earth, of the ground. So
okay, now I have a question for you. Go ahead, please.
No, go ahead. Ask me your question.
Are you following, and I have been following the stories that the magnetic pole, the North Pole, is moving away from the Arctic into northern Russia. Have you seen that stuff?
I am not incredibly educated on that at this time, but I have heard of that. But what I'm talking about is there is a current that runs through the earth, just like when you plug something in and it needs to be grounded. Taking our bodies and touching it to the ground in the dirt and different mediums, as if for example, you can be in sand, it needs to be moist sand. If you put your feet in the dirt, grass that is dewy, those types of things, it actually helps that current run through your body. And there are studies that show that reduces inflammation and cortisol levels. There's a really great documentary called The Earthing Movie. Who wants to watch that? It'll give you a really good idea of what I'm talking about. And there's a book on it. I mean, there's a lot of research on it, a lot of peer-reviewed articles going into this now as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Logston.
Am I the only one who wonders how much this costs? There's a fee for this, correct?
Oh, yes. Yes. And originally I decided that I would love to share our property with people. We purchased a home with a beautiful forest right behind it, just kind of by the grace of God. And then I left my job last August, and I would like to contribute to my family financially. And so, yes, I am currently looking at the pricings for just an individual walk would be about $35. I recently did my forest therapy certification and graduated a few weeks ago. And it's between 35 and 50 walk, just depending on where you're at. If you're in New York, it's a lot more, even when you walk in Central Park, and people do walks there. So it's really interesting. But for our community, I think it would be about a $35 per person charge. When someone comes to the property to do something else, when we do a walk in connection with a grounding yoga practice or some different sound healing, meditation, things of that nature, then the price would depend on what you're doing in connection with the forest therapy walk. Yeah. And I would love to have you come join us. You've shaken your head like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I knew about grounding, trust me.
And I have 4 cats too. In my house.
Mr. Wahlberg.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just a comment. So I did attend the ZBA. I guess I'd like to congratulate Ms. Marlin. A very good presentation. And just compliment you on, you had two neighbors come and speak at ZBA, and that's always a great sign of being neighborly and having a successful business. So really appreciate that. I'll be in favor of this.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hope to partner with other local businesses in the area. There's a lot of really great rural tourism opportunities here, and to bring people from Chicago and the surrounding areas into our community and boost our economy. I think there's a lot of opportunity for that.
Further questions from the board or comments? I'll just echo a little bit of what Mr. Wahlberg said. I have had the opportunity to know Ms. Morella for a little bit of time, and it's a wonderful family. And I think it's a great opportunity for them and for the community, and great use of their farm and helping to share it with other individuals. So I think it's an awesome idea. Anything else? Do you have anything else you want to share?
I would love to invite you all to come out and go for a walk. So hopefully you can do that soon.
Hopefully not anytime in this month.
No, the spring.
A little cold. Okay.
The spring. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Nothing further from the board. I would ask all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That will move on to the full board 2 weeks from today.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Good luck. Next, I would ask for a motion to approve resolution 25-01, Bill R 14220, resolution for maintenance under Illinois Highway Code 9. I'm sorry. Yeah. Just under Illinois Highway Code, sorry. Motion by Mr. Riley, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Larson. Discussion. Mr. Crone.
This is a standard yearly procedure in order for us to spend the money we budgeted through our recent budgeting process to spend our motor fuel tax money. The Illinois Department of Transportation controls that motor fuel tax money. Even though we budget it, we have to pass this resolution separately, just a formal process. The only thing unique about this one is higher than normal, just because we do have some motor fuel tax money allocated to our building, highway department building project. Otherwise, it's a very standard process.
Questions for Mr. Crone? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Perfect. Next up, I need a motion to approve the purchase of a tandem truck body in the amount of $113,000. I'm assuming that's $113,005 from Tri-State Truck Equipment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riley, second by Mr. Wahlberg. Mr. Crone, anything?
No, this is basically to outfit our chassis that we passed last month. So this is to outfit our tandem chassis that we purchased, the Western Star. This will be the dump body, the plow, the wing, salt distribution lights, and various other items on that chassis.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Do we have any landfill updates?
Negative.
Okay. Informational items. I do have a couple of things to let the board know. I have asked Mr. Wahlberg if he would chair finance, and he has agreed to do so. So he will be the new finance chair. And Mr. Curry has agreed to do the administration chair. So he will be the chair of admin committee. Also on everybody's desk, you'll see that you had a copy of the electronic ordinance attendance sheet. just so everybody has a copy of that, I haven't personally seen one of these copies since I think we passed this ordinance probably 12 years ago or something like that. So I thought it'd be good that we have that, so everybody has that, knows what the rules are, things like that. That's what the ordinance says. So we're gonna do our darndest to make sure we follow that the best we can. Any questions on any of that? Okay, do we need executive for anything?
No, looks like Carl in the back is saying no, so thank you.
Okay, there's just one motion left. Mr. Thornberry.
Motion to get out of here.
All right, motion to get out of here. Is there a second by Mr. Schneider?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:39 PM. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay warm.
No.